Welcome you all here, the Defense Headquarters, where we are gathered for a press briefing that will be conducted by the Commander of the Gambia National Army on the upcoming exercise Councilor 2024. You may all recall that under the 1997 Constitution, and most especially all constitutions of most developed nations, their armed forces are usually tasked and given several mandates, principally having to do with the protection and preservation of their sovereignty and territorial integrity as being their primary function. The Gambia Armed Forces is no exception to this reality. And in consequence, upon fulfilling this constitutional mandate, armed forces all over the world embark on training and the conduct of operations to make them ready and fit to execute most of these mandates. During the year under review, the Gambia Armed Forces had conducted several trainings and operations. And the culmination of these training exercises is what we have been planning over the last couple of weeks. That is the field training exercise. It is on that note that we are gathered here to be briefed by the commander of the Gambia National Army, who is the lead in this exercise, to take us through the planning and the conduct of this forthcoming field training exercise. However, before we venture into proceedings, it is customary that we commit most of our proceedings into the blessed hands of Almighty God through prayers. And it is on this note that I request that we observe the opening prayers in our individual ways. Bismillah. Once again, you are all most welcome to the Defense Headquarters. Like I said, during the year under review, we have conducted a series of exercises involving training and operations as members of the Gambia Armed Forces. And all these exercises are culminating in this field training exercise, which will be conducted by members of the Gambia Armed Forces under the Ministry of Defense and also other security services under the Ministry of Interior, namely the Gambia Police Force, the Gambia Immigration Department, Fire and Rescue Services, Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the State Intelligence Services. The planning for the exercise has been ongoing prior to this briefing, in that we have conducted some series of trainings at our C4 military camp, where our personnel have gathered over the last couple of days. This morning, prior to this briefing, we had an engagement with His Excellency the President, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, for him to be briefed by the Commander of the Gambia National Army in the presence of the Chief of Defense Staff and the National Security Advisor, and also his planning team on the conduct of this forthcoming field training exercise. This venue, therefore, is an opportunity for us to also engage with members of the public through the media, so as to also share with you the concept of operation, the conduct, as well as the planning for this field training exercise. On that note, permit me to, on behalf of the entire armed forces and the other security services here present, thank His Excellency the President and also our friends from the media for gracing this occasion and also giving us some time out of your busy schedules in this exercise. Without further ado, permit me at this juncture to invite the Commander, Gambia National Army, Brigadier General Seth Njai, to commence his brief. Thank you.
The media here present today, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. I am Brigadier General Seth Njai, the Commander of the Gambia National Army. Today I have been tasked to officiate this press briefing to inform the general public about an upcoming military exercise that should take place next week or thereabout. So we thank our colleagues our friends from the media for gracing the occasion and for answering to our invitation to cover this press briefing. Military field training exercises are designed to simulate combat conditions, purposely to prepare personnel for real-world scenarios. Field training exercises enable personnel to gain practical skills in realistic environments. These exercises bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and applied military tactics. It is for these good reasons that the Gambia Armed Forces will organize a 5-day joint field training exercise for its services and formations from 19 to 23rd December 2024. The exercise, codenamed Exercise Kansala 2024, will be conducted in the general areas of Sibanor and Kanilai in the Fonyi belt of the southern border with Senegal. It is for the first time that an exercise of this magnitude is organized by the Gambia Armed Forces. The purpose of this press briefing, as I said before, is to provide information to the general public about this upcoming military exercise. But before I go further, let me emphasize that military exercises are very, very normal. They are usual things. They are normal activities organized by armed forces all over the world. So that is what we are trying to do. And for the record, the exercise called Exercise Counselor that is going to be conducted in Funi is not targeting anybody. I say again, it is not targeting anybody. It's not targeting any state or non-state actor, group or individual. It is just an imaginary enemy that we have, planned to fight against, and that is just to prepare our troops, for their task. The objectives of the exercise, as the main objective of the exercise, is to practice troops in the mechanics involved in the preparation and conduct of internal security and counterinsurgency operation in order to improve their operational efficiency and prepare them for future operations. Exercise Counselor also intends to provide a realistic environment where soldiers have the opportunity to practice military techniques and tactics under conditions that closely mimic actual combat scenarios in order to improve operational readiness. Another objective of this exercise is to showcase how the Gambia Armed Forces and the sister security services operate together in a joint environment, depicting an internal security and counterinsurgency setting in order to promote interoperability and interagency cooperation. The participants of Exercise Counselor, which is a battalion level field training exercise, is more than 700 personnel. That is to say, it is a battalion level field training exercise. Presently, as we speak, all the participants are assembled at Sifu Training Center, preparing for the D-Day. The participants are coming from all three services of the Gambia Armed Forces, and that is the Gambia National Army, the Gambia Navy, the Republican National Guard, the Defense Headquarters Camp, and the Gambia Armed Forces Training School. Furthermore, the Gambia Armed Forces has also extended invitation to the sister security services, including the Gambia Police Force, the State Intelligence Services, the GID, that is the Gambia Immigration Department, the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services, and the Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Gambia. Participants from these security services will marry up with our troops during the course of the exercise so that they can also play their assigned roles as, as indicated in their constitutional mandate. The exercise play. Exercise counselor is designed to fight a national enemy. It's a fictitious enemy, an imaginary enemy that has entered into the country and has taken over some border villages along the southern border in Foni. The imaginary enemy are insurgents who receive support from groups and individuals in and outside the Gambia, with the ultimate aim of destabilizing the country. The assumption is that these insurgents have already established bases along the Sibanor-Kanilai axis and are terrorizing the people living there. They have already captured some military bases deployed in the area and are engaged in kidnapping, drug peddling, and violent demonstrations. The situation could not be contained by the military and police deployed in the general area. As per the scenario, it is based on this situation in Foni that the Gambia government gave order for the Gambia Armed Forces to deploy troops to maintain law and order in the area. Thus, exercise Kansala will start from Sibanor on 19 December and ends at Kanilai on 23rd December in Foni Kansala. The exercise troops will be tasked to flush these insurgents from the Gambian territory in order to restore law and order. They will be engaged in a series of scenarios simulating patrol conditions against a controlled enemy. Specifically, troops will have to clear pockets of enemy dispositions, conduct attacks on enemy strongholds, and recapture bases using tactics and drills learned during the orientation training period. The exercise will culminate with a VIP day at Kanilai. That is at the 4 Infantry Battalion headquarters. The VIP day will be witnessed by important dignitaries invited by the Chief of Defense Staff to witness the end of exercise Kansala. You are also invited, our friends from the media, you are also cordially invited to cover the period for the occasion. During the period of the exercise, it is normal that during this kind of exercises, the military support the communities where this exercise takes place. So this kind of community outreach is a way of winning hearts and minds. Normally, when a military is deployed to fight this kind of war, they also have what they call winning hearts and minds, during which they use their public relation and psychological means of operation to do things, to extend hands to the communities, extend hands of support to the communities, so that they win them on their side. As a result, during this period, it may interest you to know that the Gambia Armed Forces Command has decided to extend support to the communities that host the exercise. And this is a way of practicing what is normally called winning hearts and minds through public relation and psychological operation, which is very much part of counterinsurgency operation. In this vein, the Gambia Armed Forces will give free medical attention, renovate community facilities, and make handsome donations of materials to some village communities in Foni during the course of the exercise. Some villages have already been identified and they will receive some kind of support whilst we are doing our exercise in that part of the country. That brings me to the end of this press briefing. I will pause here to either answer to your questions or maybe we talk small in the local languages, but I think I should hand over to local language. The MA said we should translate it small in our local languages. I'll try the one in Wolof, I'm not very good in giving speech in my own language anyway, but I'll try. li ma doon wax léegi nii mooy Gambia Armed Forces dañ organize military exercise. Military exercise suñ ko waxee si olof mooy soldat yi la ñoo jël yóbbu si benn place ñuy practice seen liggéey. So Gambia Armed Forces commande bi ñoo toog di siyaane dañ comme ni ko émé bi waxe woon bi mu ko start depuis January ba léegi ñu ngi doon def ay training ay tàggat yaram ñu ngi doon train suñu soldat yi si barracks bi si school si military school si so ñu doon def training daal throughout depuis January so training boobu lañ bugg a jeexale ak field training exercise de anglais di oowe field training exercise mooy yóbbu suñ soldat yi si àll bi ñu doon jàng yëpp ci time bi ni yóbbu leen si àll bi ñu dem practice loolu noonu so loolu lañ bugg a organise te ñu ko bugg a defee ci àlli fooñi bi dale ko si ba nord dem be Kanilaay so ñi war a def loolu right now ñu ngi sifo ñu ngi leen gaara sifo ñu ngi foofu di préparer bis bi nii so fukki fan ak juróom-ñeneenti ci décembre ba ñaar fukki fan ak ñetta ci décembre dina nekk si àll boobu si fooñi di def suñu affaire yi soldat waaye du nekk soldat rek invite nañ tamit suñu mbokk yi nekk si police bi ñu nekk si immigration bi ñu nekk si drug laws affaire drug bi ñu nekk si fire service ak ñu nekk si affaire intelligence ñoom ñëpp invite nañ leen dinañ ñëw join ñu foofu noonu si àll bi so that ñu liggéey together foofu noonu so on a basically loolu laa doon wax dama ko summarize noonu rek xam naa duma mën a wax lépp si olof waaye loolu lañ bugg a def daal loolu lañ bugg a organiser ñu ko commencé fukki fan ak juróom-ñeneenti ñu ngi jeex si ñaar fukki fan ak ñetta moo jeexee mu ngi nekk Kanilaay si boppam suñ soldaar yi fi nekk noonu so ci ñaar fukki fan ak ñetta bi dinañ am ñu invité mooy suñ kilifa dinañ ñëw seet si dinañ ñëw witness ñu doon def yëpp soit ñu jeexal ko seen kanam so boobu la ñoo ooyee VIPD that's on the 23rd so CDS suñ chief of defense staff dina invité kilifa yi nekk si réew mi ñoom ñëpp ñu ñëw toog seetaan ñu def suñ liggéey ñu seet ndax kontaan nañ wala kontaan so foofu lañ koo jeexale waaye affaire bi daal noonu la demee xam naa ne su emee ñëwee dina ko gën a faram-fàcce moom fii la am so on that note I will stop here and allow the MA maybe to come and also speak in some local languages and later we'll have the question and answer session so that if you have any doubts you can clear. I'll be around to clear your doubts so thank you very much for your rapt attention.
karangole bi je mi alon ko sojarol anin city fantiyol be min alon ko bo banko kan menyanta banko nyen tankala e nyanno karangol kelale a nyama ni botaw karang fanan kono nyato do manding sango nyin kono jande sango nyin be banna ko se kumpa bo pour ka long ya karango nyin ke nyamen fo ya timmandi le banko e ma timmandi e ka fo me field training exercise do nyin ko mo ay men fo jam wolem nyin karo December karo kabring a tritang anin kononto ko kata fo atilimu anin saba Gambia Armed Forces ibe bala bo nyoto peyale kela mi alon ko atata dending akasabiro ke la karango nyin ayir ko be nyaadi le yemen karan kabrin January ko bitilo la December sango sanga nyanna kelale odo minawo field training exercise nyin kela kabrin nyin karo nae tritang anin kononto soto fo atilimu anin saba bala bo nyoti nyin anin training nyin mba fela fo nyi tundol la annu ay men bambanti jang wolem ko ni aje ngake fo nyi tundola manche ko jutune a kolem walla nga kule jije mi wole bayndi kan walla be makato bay kan Gambia banko nyin ala fanoni ala warobe Gambia Armed Forces is a operational and exercise wol kino dal betole ni exercise sifa a famata kelale nyin banko kan ni ara mut ko ze murno history pour ka jibe muntu malen exercise si fanyin keta oto ka samba ka ke foni karola ka bring sibanor kata ko kanilay amanke kuti mi alon ko jutni akole mu walla nga fenne jeje nga sobeta kule la walla kudo exercises ol jama jama ika jibele ilafta me exercise la a joramol be min to ma fan wolle walla environment woni asuta min to ma fan wolle so ndo lay karo kan nga jele ko foni ma fan wala exercise ni fa zakeno jele and exercise woni wala bo nyoto ni ka me internal security operations and counter insurgency operations. Internal security operations walem nin kumun sa foko armed forces wali lo men kama walem kasi ka training ke andun nyara mo bata nan banta pour ka nyapi banko nyin kan nun to wotu mo kelol ka kenya men banko le ka boli ay nyapi anyomo banko kan par sa nga jele na jerol to kelol jama men ka ke akake banko kono le ayda rebellion le be fombla wala groupe ya wuli jana ko no ye kidol chika pour ka man sa kunna nyem boy ika fo si fale internal security operations do fanan bi jele me alon ka fo me counter insurgency so nyim fulol be wolle exercise la counter insurgency wala ka groupe o soto rebel group me alon ko lafta ka ila fansum banko lo banko nyin kan yo bare kelo nyin ibuka siye batu foy ko samalem ite wuli ke fam fere wala pour ka exercise ke to wala na nyin bala bo nyoto nyin amu karawol ti me alon ko tol fanan ben fanjiri kala pour ka je na karawol men ke kabrin january karo ko december ko nga men karang akoyta male falla man koyem bani aji be banko la tanko fana amanche ko Gambia Armed Forces wala sojar kunda drone mu ye bulo sotoje wala na nyin exercise nyin nimba kela nga dol fana la fan kan ne men alon ko wolle be wala Ministry of Interior ko follow Gambia Police Force bijele Gambia Immigration Department bije prison services I guess wol fana bije fire and rescue services state intelligence services bijele drug law enforcement ni alon ko le marata drogo ana sira fenjawol wol fana betala ibe dabe dun nyin exercise wo kono oto nyillungol kono kabrin 19th ko kata ko 23rd of December nyin wala bo nyoto nyin wala exercise nyin mbakela ka bonang sibanor tundola kata ko kanel line bare exercise o nyin fana mandang ko min sojarol be tallata man tamala ji kidol be fayla wo fana je sabam banin ko kidol men be fayla amake kesete mi alon ko ase momentora kesol te men alon ko ka fo blank ammunition me wolle news la je pour ka kan nyim bala bo nyoto nyin ke yo nyin city fan tol men alon ko fana nge ko man police immigration fire service drug law enforcement wolbe ye nyantole soto je mi alon ko mbaytan la je public order management for example abijele mi alon ko même fan exercise la je anu je police yala nyanto soto jele Republican National Guard yel fana yala nyanto soto je mi alon ko be Gambia Armed Forces ko woto ni exercise ni ba kala ni lungol le kono fo ni karola exercise o fana nyin kono nga kudol fana dundi je bayre kelo dronten nalta da kelo la alka mol soto le men alon ko bori la kordalto e ka bori ka dum banku ni banku to ka fo me internal displaced persons wol fana ye makoro le solata makoro la so na soljaro fana ke karandi wo fana le ibe mari ni makoro la nyaadi le yo anu ka fo me outreach programs nga wala fana kere kere wol fana coming na lopitan bundal do kulal fana be talla silo kan men alon ko sate dantan bije nga menu tommo ko ni kono mi alon ko be tala je ka mol teste ke wiste ka jibe musa sa sifalle bela anden panan be do borol sotla men alon ko se ma ko no borol la mi alon ko se la condition no nyin stabilize ndino e niara mo sola ta referral la na doctorol be fanan yamaro di la priere fa to the nearest medical facility do ko do fanan bije mi alon ko anin kidi fayo man ata kala kidi fayoti wala mi ka fa me key leader engagement yo bare wo ngaw commencé ne juna nal haklol ba kan lo kon kilin wala fula koman nga kibarol janjandi le ka fo moli be ko bina nyin exercise fa le kala bo mu kuleti mi alon ko nyanna kala le bayde malla fi kana ka nyinke pura mol trema oton na team sol be satol be to le kabren buyam lemu sibanor kanilay anin boda satol be pour ka fo e ko nale sojarol je jamma fa wal kana ki gilate exercise o nyinga men fale ibina walla idi fayol be kala le sojaro be talla kuntun na kamuru murun dal beto na kalam telefanan ko nyin tembola mol be la tiol sokan oton bol fanan be yamar la ko ikana sila e konni la do ko walla nyin sojarol ibina la le ita mo mantora la yimbe atata nata pour kam fan yirka ta long fon na londo nyi a futata nyana futata damen komin le banko nyin tankala nyamin anin ka kanda ami komanda fanan ay kuma do fojang komin exercise si fanye ni ba ke kan ika misali fele so Gambia Armed Forces inin dole betalla kelo kan barambu moleti men alon ko na Gambia Armed Forces dum kewlem bare nge tala nge yelemandi ka ko komin enemy lem bare wo enemy man banku chodi wala man group chodi wala man mo chodi ka ko kadlem enemy ti wala afta kana ka tinyaro ki funi wala Gambia banko kan oto nyimu kulete me alon ko bala bo nyoto lem exercise lem anun kule me alon ko amanke sotorinti just assumption lem tubabol kamen ko assumption miraro le me alon ko pour yela do ko keno koyo sifake bari nanata in the real situation je you don't assume je membe kala itaba jela jahara so bayri sambe exercise la so sifalu assumption sifal foy wolke pour yela exercise keno ay realistic so exercise on ying ba kum fala da men wolem tilimuang anin sabo nyindi memo 23rd of December ti ba kala kanila sado kono ika fo me VIP day o VIP day ngana alfa le invite follow His Excellency President Adama Barrow ngate fana invite as a special guest of honor anin minister alben yalon ko be mansa kunda koto na sojar kunton kol fana be fana invite la anin the other security services chief from the Inspector General Police and the Directors Generals of the Immigration, Fire Service, Drug Law Enforcement Agency, States Intelligence Services. And in a governor many along ko be tundol fana invite la say for fana be invite kan alkalolu anin na National Assembly members will be fana invite la anin youths anin women groups many along ko be je o VIP lungo nyin bebe benna kanel layle till moang anin sabanyin December karo pour ka bala bo nyoto dol fana yitandi je comme crowd control for example comme in demonstration be ke kan banko sharto ay masakunda so sembe jimalla pour ka je ko wo demonstration o nyin wala bala mamma nyin ning dum to lapta kake ika dimba fanya dile and then exercise jamal fanan dol be kala je men yalon ko wol be kala entertainment la pro men bina wo VIP day.
Thank you very much. I am Modu Elbaji from Star TV. I will want to first use this opportunity to thank the High Command for coming up with such an initiative. And then post my question, I think it will go to one to the MA, which is what kind of ammunition are we expecting? Because it is important for people within the environment to know. At least most of us are used to the blank ammunition, but looking at the magnitude of this training, how the army is putting up this emphasizing about this activity, it is important also to set light on the types of ammunition that is going to be used. And my question to the army commander, General Njai, which is we saw reports from social media, claiming that personnel that are currently occupying the quarters at the various battalions are taxed to pay so a particular amount of money, or else vacates their accommodation facilities. So I would like the army commander to set light on that.
Thank you very much, Baji, for your question. Regarding the type of ammunition that will be used, first I will start with the logistics that will be accompanying the troops. We will be having vehicles and armored personnel carriers, going with them. The armored personnel carriers, for example, this vehicle here you see. And the ammunition they will be going with is the usual AK-47s with blank ammunition that they will be using. All that they will be firing in the bush there will be blank ammunition. So there's no need to panic or even to fear. It will be blank ammunition that will be used. And then you'll be seeing soldiers moving up and down. And even when there will be several places where they will, what is called harbor. It's like a break that they will take in some of the villages along the road. I think one of them is Kappa, if I do not forget. Sitanunku, Kappa, and then Kanilai. So when they get to Sitanunku, they will take a break to resupply themselves, fuel, water, check themselves. That's part of also the training. So when they harbor there, they will not be stationary. You may have some pockets of some soldiers here and there moving about on patrols, putting up checkpoints. But these are all fictitious. Even the checkpoints and whatever, we call on the public to just comply. If you don't even comply, they will not harass you. You can take it from me. It's an exercise. They're just trying to exercise themselves. But the exercise also partly, like I said, is national security. It's not only the armed and security services, even the civilian population. In a real war situation, these things happen. Now they harbor and then put on checkpoints. And then they go on patrols. The last time we had an incident, they were like, should we put up checkpoints? Now I will explain why. You have a patrol. When you patrol, the enemy is also watching. He has people who report to him that they are coming. So he will move. So the other bits that will help your patrol is the checkpoint. So these things, they are complementary. So when you see these checkpoints or patrols going up and down, let the people not panic. Let them not be fearful. These are your own Gambia Armed Forces personnel who are just training so that we know our capabilities. We know our weaknesses. We know our strengths. It is only through trainings like this armed forces are able to build on their weaknesses and also even improve on their strengths. So we call on the general public to try and comply during this period. It's just 4 days, and then we'll be in Kanilai, and then from there, we will see how well we do. So it's blank ammunition for your case, Baji. And for the other question, which is unrelated, however, but we have information to share with you on that. What happened was probably it's a miscommunication or a misinformation. There was an exercise that was conducted. An officer was appointed to be in charge of our accommodations, called an estate officer or estate manager. Now, the responsible thing for that officer or the Armed Forces Command is to go around and do an accountability before you assume your office, to know how many people or personnel of the armed forces are living in our barracks. So that was the exercise that was conducted. Because usually every month you have what is called an accommodation return that comes to the Chief of Defense Staff so that he knows how many soldiers and officers live in a particular barracks. Because this information is also vital for your operations, for your day-to-day command and operations of the armed forces. So that was the exercise that was conducted. Period. There is no information, as far as we know as of now, as to the fact that people will be deducted as a result of living in the military barracks. We have not yet reached that stage. What the exercise that was just conducted was an assessment to take stock of all those personnel of the Gambia Armed Forces who are being accommodated and those who are not being accommodated. So this information, once it is collated together, they will be passed to the Defense Headquarters, to the Chief of Defense Staff, so that you'll be able to take an informed decision to know what type of accommodations we need to provide, whether it's adequate or not adequate. So these are things that we need to clarify out there. We've just finished the accommodation blocks in Farafenye, which is a two-story building with about 114 rooms. So these exercises are meant towards helping us gather first-hand information to know how many of our personnel are accommodated, how many of our personnel are not, and would need accommodation. So that was the basis of that exercise. But there is no information as of now to state that there is a plan to deduct anybody or for soldiers to pay for the accommodations in our military barracks. According to our terms and conditions of service, because of our mandates and the role we play in preserving and protecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of this country, in return, the terms and conditions of service has a provision that we should be accommodated at government expense, that we should travel at government expense, and we should be given medical treatment at government expense. I hope that is clear. So there is no information as of now to state that any soldier or officer is going to be deducted house rent or is going to be asked to pay for his accommodations in any of our military camps. Thank you.
question, Madam. Responding to your question, the people in Fonyi, I think now you said whether they don't feel safe, right? Some do not feel safe. Okay, you are right. We are aware of that. Uh, uh, Fonyi has a border with the southern region of Senegal, where you have insurgency, and sometimes you have spillover of the conflict into the Gambian territory. And over the years or over the months, we've been trying to see how we prevent that. And we have a lot of engagement with our colleagues in Senegal. And now it has reduced drastically. Notwithstanding, we also have our deployments in Funi. The 4 Infantry Battalion is there. Although we do not have enough troops to cover everywhere, there are gaps, existing gaps that we have not yet covered, and we are working on that, to see how we can cover those gaps, either with personnel deployment or through patrols. We are working on that, and I'm sure by next year, inshallah, we intend to reposition the Gambian National Army so that we see how we cover some of the gaps, security gaps we have all over the country, not only in food. There are so many other gaps that we've realized we do not have military presence. We are working on that, and when we are done, then we will have to do some deployments in those areas. It is not something that can just come like that because it has so many implications, including logistics implications. Because you do not deploy the military like that. Wherever you deploy them, you have to take care of them. And it's very expensive to take care of a military unit. But it is part of our plan to cover all the gaps that are existing within the area of responsibility of the Gambian National Army. You spoke about if a situation arises during the course of the exercise. Is that okay? Is that what you said? Well, we have factored everything. We know the area we are conducting the exercise. We know the security situation there. We know it very well, and we have factored everything in our planning. So we are not just deploying and then lying down like that. We also have security measures in place to make sure that any situation that comes up, we'll be able to deal with it. It's factored. All right. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Okay, so you are talking about the participants. Why did we limit it to only 700? Okay, that is a good question. But the military has a way of doing things. This is the first time we are trying to do this kind of exercise, or exercise of this magnitude. This is the first time we are trying to do it, and it has a lot of logistic needs or requirement. So the more personnel you want to exercise or put on the exercise, the more logistics you need to support or sustain the troops. Right now, they are in Sifu doing some orientation training. And throughout their stay in Fuji, they will have to be fed 3 square meals. 700 people fed 3 square meals. You can see how expensive that is. Not only that, you have to get them vehicles and fuel those vehicles. All right? That is just, some part of the logistics I'm talking about. Others will come. That is one thing. And secondly, you cannot also bring all your troops and concentrate them in one area for the sake of exercise. You also need to continue your security presence wherever you are deployed. So you need personnel to stay behind to take care of the security of their areas of responsibility. All right, so that is why we decided that for exercise counselor, we are going to start with a battalion level exercise. that is 700 plus, so that we use it as a benchmark and then see whether next year or subsequent exercises, whether we can add the strength or reduce the strength. So this one is going to serve as a benchmark, subsequent exercises. And we decided that we can try a battalion level exercise. Is that okay? Just to inform you that this was planned since at the beginning of the year. Every year in the military, we formulate a plan. The activities we need to do, particularly training activities we need to do for the whole year, we plan it. And it's in that plan, we call it a training directive. It's in that training directive that we factored that by December, we need to carry out a field training exercise, a battalion level exercise. And we also indicated that by May, we should start the planning process. So this planning process started since May. So in May, we converged to have the initial planning conference. It was during this planning conference in May that the planning committee, who are here with me now, discussed the, the number of troops that should come from each battalion or from each service. For the Gambia National Army, how many should come from there? The Gambia Navy, how many should they contribute? The Republican National Guard, Defense Headquarters Camp, the training school, the sister security services. So it was something we put on the table and decided as a planning committee. And we also gave the opportunity to unit commanders to pledge. For instance, you ask one infantry battalion, how many troops do you think you want to pledge for the exercise? The same thing for 2 infantry battalions, all the battalions and services. We ask them those questions. How many troops they think they want to pledge? That will not also give them challenges in their battalion routines. So when they were given this opportunity to pledge troops, they came up with the number of troops they want to pledge. One infantry battalion said they can pledge a company. They want to pledge 3 platoons, a company. 2 infantry battalions said the same thing. Others pledge. So they pledge the number of troops they want to contribute for the exercise. So that was how we came up with this number. There was a ceiling that it is a black battalion level. It should not be more than a battalion level, and units were asked to pledge, and they pledge based on their strength, the number of soldiers they have under them. So it was based from those pledges that we were able to come up with this number. All right? Did I convince you? Somehow. Was it okay? Any other question? ABC? Is it APC or ABC? For us, we know APC as Armored Personnel Carriers. Okay, thank you. Whether after the exercise, the troops should continue to be camped together or they should be released to report back to their various units, right? The exercise called exercise counselor is in 3 phases. Phase 1 is to assemble all the troops and move them to the concentration area in Sibano. Phase 2 is to put them on the exercise. That is to start the exercise from Sibano up to Kanilai and end it on the 23rd, the VIP day. That's the conduct of the exercise itself. That's phase 2. Phase 3 is to withdraw from the exercise area and go back to our various barracks. All right. So after the exercise, they are going to be debriefed and released and then asked to go back to wherever they came from. All right?
Baji. Thank you for your question about the armored personnel carriers that you said you saw rolling down to, you said ST, right? Yes, those armored personnel carriers, they belong to the Gambia Armed Forces. However, because they are not yet officially handed over, we are working on a formal ceremony where the official handing and taking over ceremony will be done by the donor and also to the Gambia Armed Forces. But the donor is also not a secret. He's one of those strategic partners of the Gambia Armed Forces, which is the Republic of Turkey. You may recall 2019, we had pledged to deploy a quick reaction force to UN missions. And since that time, we have been able to get some of the logistics, such as soft-skin vehicles, um, the four-wheel drives, the ambulances. So the only stumbling block that we had not to deploy for a QRF was these critical enablers, that's the armored personnel carriers. So we have been engaging Turkey over the years to procure these APCs. So those are the ones that we just saw recently um, coming in. But because we have not done the official handing and taking over ceremony, um, I would request, I don't know how you will do that, um, not to go into the details about the whole thing, but be rest assured that a ceremony will be organized where the whole country will come to join us to receive these new additions to the inventory of the Gambia Armed Forces, which will also be a boost for our chances to go back to peacekeeping operations. Thank you. So with that, we have come to the end of this press briefing. Once again, we would like to thank most especially the members of the media fraternity and also our colleagues from the sister security forces for availing us your time to attend this press briefing. So next rendezvous point is in Kanilai for the VIP day, which is on the 23rd of December, 2024. With that,